Okay, I've got my sample piece here. I just got 6 eyelets in it that's how I practiced how to get the lacing right. So you've got your grommets. Mine are very rushed. What you're going to want to do is take your little buckles here, and this would be, say, where my waist is, and just put these either on the inside, or if you want to go a little bit further, but make sure there's spacing here so that when you loosen them, there's room for you to get into your corset, and then there's also going to be room for you to tighten it from there. So I kind of played around with this to see how I liked it, and this is going to take you quite a few times to get the way that you want it to work with the corset that you're making. So we're going to go just here for right now. And make sure that it's kind of lined up as to where you want it on, say, its loosest. So if you want it 2 inches or 4 inches, if you need to get into it, and then you can reduce down to, say, if you can reduce 4 inches and then you have a 2-inch gap, so you're going to want to probably start lacing this at like 6 inches apart, so that when you tighten it up from here, it's going to go to your 2 inches spacing in the back. So, okay, so get your rope or whatever you use, ribbon. Make sure that it's gonna fit inside the little holes here. This is a 4mm just cotton cord, and you're gonna want to just kind of keep pulling until you get to the center of it. Between the 2 lengths, and just tie a knot in the top. I like to do to make sure that it's going to stay center. So you see I've got my knot at the top of all of this. So then all you're going to do is kind of make sure that's free, and you're going to pull on either end until you get that knot right in the middle. Okay, so I also taped down my tops and my pieces down. If you don't do something to hold it together, it's going to be really difficult, because all of this and these all move a lot, and it's really frustrating to try and do it. So I found that painter's tape worked pretty good. It doesn't usually leave a residue on anything, and it holds pretty decent. So I also taped my edges of my rope just to make sure that I could find it mostly, but so that it goes into these little holes a little easier. So we'll go ahead and get started lacing it. You want to make sure that you keep one side all together and then the other side all kind of together. If you mix them all up, they can get tangled. It becomes quite a mess, as I found out many times. So we'll go ahead and start. You want to keep the rhythm, and that's what's going to really be key. And you're going to do the same rhythm. So we're going to take, you always go from grommet over to clasp, and then back to grommet on the other side. And kind of work from either one side, then to the other side, then back to the other side. That's kind of how it works. And then whenever you do the right side, then you go to the left side, and you kind of follow from there until you get to the waist. So we're going to go ahead and go, so we go from grommet, and then we're going to use just the back ones of this, just because it's not very long. So we're going to go ahead and, I'm doing this with one hand. So, okay, then we're going to take this side, we're going to go over top, through and down, and then just pull it. Okay, then just pull it all through, and then you come back to this side, and you're going to grab the end, which fell on the ground, and you're going to come back to a grommet on the opposite side, and you're going to go under everything, and then back to the grommet on this side, and pull it all do the opposite, grab the opposite string and do it to that side. So then we came from here, and now we go to an opposite grommet, which once you get, you don't want to overlap over existing ones like this, like from the top, because then it will bind up on you and you won't get a good, it won't tighten good. So then we come from here to here, making sure we're underneath everything. Hopefully you can kind of see how it's looking, how it's working out. You get a much more dramatic effect when there's a lot more, as on mine there's 17 grommets per side, so I think something like that. Okay, then we did this string, we come back to this string, and then we're gonna go one more time from grommet to clasp, over and down. You do have to continue to just tighten as you go, as other lacings catch other lacings. You just gotta sort of make sure that they stay nice and pretty, because then when they tighten evenly. So you want to make sure that it is exactly how you want it to look at the greater spacing when you do this, and then you can, when you pull it tighter, it'll be the same, it'll just reduce the entire way. Okay, so then we come from this one. Now this is where I messed up so many times, because you're at the waist where these clasps are. If you go with the old trick of going over everything, I'll do it just so that you can see what's going on. If I were to go over everything, say like this, and I were to pull, I'm now going to be pulling this string up, and I don't want to do that. It's going to look bad, and it actually won't tighten. It just won't work. So you have to take this string at the waist and go underneath all of them, because you want these tabs to still be able to pull up freely. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, so then I just pulled that. I'm gonna make sure it's all tight still. So I just took that off. So you know that when you see that and you kind of pull up on these tabs, they have to be able to be free on both sides. And that usually happens at the first grommet at the top of the waist, is where you're gonna have to start going under the lacing. So we'll go tuck them underneath. Oop, there we go. Okay, so see, now we still have this lacing effect, but we're free right there. So then you continue on. You're gonna go grommet over here. So again, we're just gonna skip these ones here just for basic sake. Okay, and then make sure you don't knot that. Goes underneath everything. Okay, and just pull that. This is quite time consuming. I will definitely have to add that. Is time consuming. Okay, so you got that side. Again, we gotta keep these sides separate. You can see how this can get tangled up to a horrible mess. Okay, so clasp to grommet on opposite side, and then we're gonna come back over to here. We don't have to go underneath anything because we haven't really, there's nothing in the way, which is nice. Okay, that side too. Okay, then we're got it over the other side and just pull. Okay, so now we're going with this side. Get that out of the way. This side. clasp over to grommet. Switch hands. This way, and then under, and we're just gonna pull. Okay, that's straight up there. Now opposite. Okay, so we're gonna start from, here, and we're gonna go over here, and we're gonna go over everything, through, we're gonna go through, and then we're gonna make sure we go underneath this one. Oh no. Pull too hard. Okay, so checking to make sure that everything's kind of free still. Yeah, that's free. It's gonna be free, so we're gonna go grommet. Back over to clasp. Okay, I want to get it through that hole. It gets to be really difficult and finicky, and I need two hands, so I have to pause the video to do it. Okay. So see, if that one was over top, we would have got it all caught up, and you would have been very frustrated, like I was. Okay, so still making sure that's nice and free. Okay, and then what usually happens is if you get it really long, and if you do a close-up of my Foundations Revealed fan lacing corset, you'll notice that some of the back ones are doubled up because it's so long, and I probably should have used 2 sets of these, say one above the waist and one below the waist, but for my what I was going for, it was gonna just work with just doubling up and using 2 clasps, one on either side. So I used even the front ones and the back ones, but it's not quite enough. So we'll just, so yeah, we're coming to the end, so we've filled both those holes, and then what'll happen is that we just had this one in, so we're gonna take this one, and where's my end? There's my end. And again, back over a grommet. And so, okay, and then you can just tie it. What I did was I actually had two grommets close together at the bottom so that I could fish it kind of up and over and then tie them individually in the back. But what you can do is you could tie it off to the side in behind one of the grommets so that it looks like it's straight in the back. So if you were to tie it together at the back here, it would still look straight, and it would kind of go with the straight in the back and then lacing in the front. Okay, so I just tied that knot, and once the strain's on it, then it will hold its spot kind of tucked in behind, so you won't have, it'll just look like it's kind of all the same. Nice little trick there. So what you're looking for is you want to make sure that these clasps are free. And what I mean by free is that when you pull them, or you just kind of fold them up, that they kind of look like this. They're not getting caught up by anything else, any other straps here. And then like on both sides, right, you're gonna make sure that they're, if for instance you kind of messed it up and it ended up being that the top of your waist was over top of the rest of the lacings, like I showed you, you wouldn't pull up free. You wouldn't be able to do this with your clasp, right? And then also vice versa. You wouldn't be able to do this with the clasp. And that's what you're looking for. and if you mess it up, just keep trying until you get it. But if you kind of follow a rhythm of, you start from grommet to clasp and then kind of pull it down, the other side, grommet to clasp, kind of pull it down, back to the other side, grommet in behind, and then pull it down, and then you kind of keep going until you get to that first top of your waist, or wherever you put this. So like I was saying, you want to put this between two eyelets on either side, and then that's how you're going to determine how the lacing goes, and then you're going to keep going. And then what usually kind of happens is that you have this space in the middle, but because all of these lacings kind of come this way, it looks really cool, I think. But you do always have at every grommet, in behind every single grommet, and you can see it when you kind of pull it to the side, every grommet has a straight back to it from one side to the other side. So that's what you're looking for. And I should add that how it looks when you take all the tape off and how it actually works. So if you see these ones, and I got these at Vera Cava, I think that's how you pronounce it. So, and they come as 3 too, like instead of 5 holes. And then, so what I ended up using for mine was I ended up using just some belting and then like webbing. And these have like some actually kind of sharp teeth, and they grip really well. So you're gonna go through, like lace through it with your belting, and then, or whatever you use. I imagine you could use ribbon, but like I said, these are sharp, so it might actually kind of wreck it. So I'd almost try something really sturdy, and that's kind of why I use the belting. And so as you can pull the tabs back, and it will open these up, and it will loosen, and then it will kind of go from being close to being far, you know, and vice versa, and then just, they will just kind of come apart like that. So that's why you want to make sure, because these will only come so far apart now. That's probably about as far as they'll come apart, which is only like maybe 2 inches. So it's very important that you make sure that when you have your original spacing, when you're lacing it, to make sure that your spacing is already quite large. Like, so say you're not going to get a big reduction when you use fan lacing, but if you could probably manage about 2 to 4 if you're lucky. I think my reduction was 3 from my entry. So you really got to make sure that you have the spacing already, so that, because you're not going to be able to loosen it much more to be able to get into it. And you got to also think about, it has to be a lot looser than your body naturally is, so you have wiggle room to get it kind of around everything, and also to get it, get the busk on if it's a split busk. So yeah, just always just kind of gauge it, and you're not going to probably get on the first time, and that's okay, right? We're always learning, so just make sure that you do it, and don't get super frustrated. Just kind of keep going, and it will come eventually. Thanks, guys.